What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the CEW channel. This is episode number 14 of our Catching Up With series. And today we are catching up with Toccara Ross, a highly competitor. Iowa State Cyclone, 12 years, right?
12 years. This will be my 13th year.
13, going on 13 years, yeah. Professional basketball player. She's the bomb, and she's here to share with us her basketball story, ups and downs, how she became this awesome basketball player, and let us in on the details and some advice. Toccara, thank you for joining the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive in and share a little bit about my journey. Yeah.
Yes. A little bit, a lot, everything.
A lot. Yeah.
So, just kind of catch us up to what you've been doing now, and like how was the year 2020? How was the pandemic for you?
Yeah, 2020 was interesting. Like a lot of us, I just did my best to, I guess, find some routine. I don't want to use the word normalcy because that's nothing of what 2020 was. So
right.
Definitely did my best to find routine. I didn't play this year. I was very intentional about, you know what, this has been the year of pause. I've been calling it the great pause. And so for me, I've been playing for the last 10 years, like straight, back to back, no rest. On an average year, I'm playing 8 to 10 months out of the year, and it's a lot. So this year was a unique opportunity for me to intentionally rest. I recognize there's a privilege in that as an older athlete. And what that might look like coming back into the game, but I wanted to listen to my body and say, hey, I'm going to use this year to get stronger, get better, and to rest mentally and emotionally. And so that's what I did. I have a unique opportunity to play this summer for a Canadian team. So I'll be well rested and ready to go.
That's awesome. You know, that's one thing that in my 7-year career is that I wish I would have took a year off fully to emotionally rest, to physically rest, and take care of my injuries. And I might have played a little bit longer, but I did it. But it's all good.
Yeah, our bodies are super thankful for it. So whenever we can do it, we have to do it. And I'm not sure if COVID hadn't happened, if I would have rested. So
right. So cool. Kind of a blessing in disguise for the body.
Yeah.
Let's take it back. Let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you started to play basketball. How were you introduced to it? What type of kid were you?
I was a very inquisitive kid, so I wanted to do a little bit of everything. Grew up in Chicago. We had a unique opportunity to move about 3-4 hours west to Iowa. Interesting place. And what I realized in Iowa was a few things, that this was a place that I could probably flourish a bit more, that I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to do had I stayed in the inner city. My parents at the time were a bit more intentional about where, and first things like where we lived, who we were around. We were in a really good place to have family around us a lot. And for me, I was able to just dive right into sports as a safe space for me. And I did a little bit of everything. To be honest, I was probably better at soccer than I was at basketball, but I was just, I was bigger than everybody, and they were like, okay, she gonna play a little basketball. Right. Thank goodness that, basketball and I meshed well together. So I ended up playing basketball later than normal. Most people play probably, I don't know, nowadays kids are playing 8, 9, 10 years old. I probably started playing, right? They're playing like I didn't have that. I probably started playing basketball when I was probably like 12. Let's say really playing like 12, maybe 13.
What, 7th grade? That was
junior high.
That's normal back then, though.
Back then, right. Right. So I was just like, okay, this is cool, but I was horrible. I was trash. I was big, but I was trash. I had no mentorship, no skill whatsoever. But you let athleticism go a long way. So that's how I was like making it work. And then I just had a couple coaches be like, okay, with a little tweaking, with a little work, she could really be a high caliber athlete. And I think because of all the other sports that I did, it really helped me excel in basketball. So yeah, I just really, at one point, I remember I was 16 and I was like, you know what, I really like this sport. I really want to be more intentional about it. And so I asked questions, and I was asking around, school, like, where can I really like get this mentorship from? And I what I realized was there wasn't a lot, but there was one gentleman in particular who's my godfather at the time. He invested in me, and he really saw that I could be a top caliber athlete in whatever sport that I chose. But he really poured into me on the basketball side. And yeah, like, he really kind of gathered me up along the way to get me to where I was playing at an elite level, and to where I could get those scholarship opportunities to go to college.
Okay, that's awesome. What other sports did you play other than
I
soccer?
played soccer. Yeah, soccer. I played volleyball. I ran track. I would state everything in every sport that I played. I
That's dope.
wrestled. I was just
Wrestled. Yes.
blessed. I wrestled. Yes, I did, and it was fantastic. I had a great time. I just wanted to do everything. I was like, okay, so once you figure out you're athletic and that you're good at things, you low key want to test yourself. I was like, oh, I can do that. And I hated the word no. I was like, oh, so you finna tell me that I can't do this? I'm gonna show you otherwise. So yeah, I wrestled in junior high. I wrestled up until sophomore year in high school. And then like normal teenagers, puberty hit, and you realize that you're gaining weight, and you have these body parts that are very different than the people that you are competing against. And it affected my weight. So I had to make a decision as far as if this was something I wanted to continue to do at a high level. And I gravitated more toward basketball instead.
Okay, cool. You said volleyball, state in everything. That's
everything.
Crazy. You were killing it.
I'm lucky. I don't know where this athletic talent came from, but I appreciate you, parents.
That's cool. So you were very, very active. I love talking about parents and their parenting style. What was their parenting style around sports and allowing you to try different things? And as a female and a girl, to be able to do wrestling, where some parents would be like, no, my little girl's not doing that. Like, how do you think that really helped you with the confidence in basketball?
I have a very unique story. My mother and my parents, like, no one did sports. So like their knowledge around sports was just kind of like, okay, this is something that kids do.
Right.
So there wasn't encouragement on that end as far as like, okay, I want you to be active in this sport. It was more so, okay, you're doing it, I hope you do well. And that's not a negative experience. I was just like, my family had no experience at all with sports. So I was one of the first. I am one of the first. Like, there's no professional athletes in my family. There's no one who has done any of those things up until now. So I didn't really have a lot of encouragement on that end, but what I did have was my extended family. I had those godparents. I had those mentors. I had those people in the community who saw that and were able to place me in those environments. So once my parents did see, like, oh wow, my kid's actually like kind of dope, that's when the encouragement came, and making sure that I got to practice. It was a team effort when it came to how it is, getting you to practice, getting you making sure you're fed, making sure you're on time with schoolwork, and like, so it was really a village when it came to this.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome that you had that type of support. Going into, so let's say, was it sophomore year that you decided to only do basketball?
That's when I got wrestling. So let's just say junior year is when I had to decide. I had a very unique situation where I had to decide. I was going to go to state and volleyball, and I had a volleyball coach. We go name this. I had a volleyball coach who was like, you need to choose.
Yeah.
And these coaches, what they do at this level, they're like, they try to push you and tug you one way or another. And for the kid, it's not fair. In high school, you're supposed to really you're supposed to learn yourself, and you're supposed to dig into all these different opportunities and find out who you really are. That's part of the high school experience. Yeah. And I had a coach kind of force me one way or the other. And I ended up choosing basketball because I knew at a certain point that there could be a career in this. I knew that pretty early, that if I worked really hard, that I could potentially go to college. And I thought about financially what that could do to my family at that age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So speaking of that, like understanding college, understanding that getting a scholarship fully paid for or partially paid for, were you having conversations with older folk about that possibility, or were you just inquisitive and kind of knew, or did your own research about that? Because I had that thought like earlier today about some of my AAU kids and like if they really understand what college is about,
I didn't really start having that conversation until probably my senior year when coaches started coming around. I couldn't, because my parents didn't have the knowledge necessarily of what that process looked like. I had to really tap into my community. And again, my godfather, he was a huge advocate for like, let's sit down, let's talk about what these options look like. What I did know was coming from a single parent household, that my mother could not afford to send me to college. That was just the reality of our situation. And academically, I was fine, but I knew that I wanted to go play a sport in college. So I really had to tap into those networks and say, I need some support. I need you to really explain what this process looks like and how it will affect my family. So I'm really grateful that I had those people kind of pour into me what this process looks like, because it's a process you definitely don't want to go through along, especially nowadays with kids. They have, they're able to monetize on their, their likeness. There has to be someone to kind of walk them through that process, because there are people along the way who are giving them the wrong information. I was really grateful not to get a lot of wrong information, but I want our kids these days to realize that this process is very it's a very interesting process, and you're going to need the right people. You're going to need to think about a team. We didn't really have to think about a team back then.
Right.
These kids have to actually have like a whole team and village if they want to do this successfully, because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about, what does the work ethic look like for you as far as basketball? If you can say how much work did you put in? What did that look like? Well, if you had a free weekend, were you in the gym or were you chilling? Were you with friends? Like, how does that look?
On the basketball level, once I committed, because it was the thing I had to do. I had to commit and say, hey, you know what? This is something that I want to do. I really had to just immerse myself into the culture of basketball. I was watching film. I probably watched more film then than I do now, but I watched film. I was like, and at that time, that was like when the WNBA had started. And there were actually people who looked like me on TV, in the magazines. So I really immersed myself in that culture, and I would be in the gym all the time. I remember there was a university not too far away from my school, and I could walk to it. St. Ambrose University. And anytime I saw the gym free, I would just pop in there. Whether or not I could or not, I would just pop in there. And I remember a coach looking at me one time saying, like, he came in there and he corrected me. He was like, I know you want to be in the gym, but you're not doing this right. He actually went outside of himself and was like, if this is something you really want to do, you need to be going to this camp. You need to be doing this. Because I didn't play AAU. I know a lot of kids now, they start and they play AAU. I never played AAU. I didn't even know what AAU was until I got to college. And there were other kids around me like, oh, I played this, I played that. I didn't know about it. So I really, the village around me kind of tapped into me. I made sure I was in the gym all the time if there was availability. But I was also kind of learning these things on my own. I was that kid who was watching film and trying to mimic those things that I saw from those WNBA players to do on the court. Eventually people saw that and was like, oh, okay, she needs a little support. And they poured into me after that.
Right. Okay. So you're putting that work out there, and as coaches do, when they see that kid putting that work out and trying to do better, right? Trying to make themselves better. I know I'm attracted to kids that do that, right? So I will do the same thing and go talk to them, go try to help them, offer them a session or whatever. But I was going to ask you if you played AAU. So no AAU.
No AAU. I wish I would have played AAU, because I eventually in college, I went back and I coached for this amazing program called Kingdom Hoops. And I saw how dope this program was pouring into these kids, and like in America and abroad. And I wish I had something like that. But again, like we couldn't afford that. Like that wasn't something that I could do. So I definitely worked a lot on my own, because there weren't a lot of kids around me who were playing. I had a really cool group of girls on my high school team who really supported me a little bit, but outside of that, it was no one that really wanted to play at the collegiate level. So like my work ethic had to shift.
Yeah. Yeah. You had to do a lot by yourself. And that's one thing that I wish kids that do play AAU today could really understand. I think some of them too many of them kind of wait for the practice or their skills training coach in the group in the private, and then there's no work outside of having somebody to lead you. That's for I think you and I, we were at whatever goal that was available, outside, inside, raggedy ball, no net, whatever, just trying to get buckets and play. And I wish kids would understand.
That's where the real work is done. Like you got to do it off hours.
Exactly. All right, T, tell us, take us through your recruiting process from junior year or senior year. First letter, how'd that feel, and then how'd you get to choosing your college destination?
Okay, so I had a really unique opportunity. I went to junior college. I was raw. I was very, very raw. I was athletic, but there was this rawness about my game that really needed development. And I knew that I was going to play D1. Once I understood the levels of college basketball, I was like, oh, I got to go to the top. Like, I ain't trying to do this. And it's no offense to anyone who does that. I just knew what was right for me. And I kept getting these offers to go to D2s or NAIAs, and I would go to the games, and I would see, because I had an NAIA up the street from me. That was the gym that I was working at, and I was like, nah, I'm better than that. I can do this. Like I was very like, I knew where I needed to go, and I don't know how it happened, but a gentleman, Coach Kim Mole, he had heard about me somehow. He showed up in my gym, and it just happened to be a game where I think I might have had 14 rebounds, 20 plus points. Like it was a game that he saw potential in. Yeah. And he approached my coach and was like, I think junior college is the best place for her. I don't want her to go to a program that she can't develop in. And at the time, I never understood what junior college was. My perception of what junior college was, this is where kids go when they don't have the grades, when they're in trouble. Okay. So I got a better understanding of what junior college was, that it was a place to develop.
Right. That's
and
awesome.
So and that's a lot of kids even now. I still don't think they have that understanding of what junior college is, that they're a bad kid, that they got, they could make D1, so they had to go down. But junior college is a very unique opportunity to develop your game in 1 or 2 years that'll get you to the elite level.
Okay.
And what happened there, I was exposed. I don't think senior year I got any Division I offers, any.
Okay.
After my freshman year at JUCO, the Division I offers start pouring in, and at that level, you can leave after 1 year. I stayed 2 years because we were national champion contenders. I went to one of the best junior colleges in the country. So that program, that coach Kim Mole developed me into an elite player, and I got to play. It happened to be Iowa is Big 10, Big 12 country. So I got to play around those. There was a summer league specifically down there. I can't even remember the summer league name, but I played side by side with University of Iowa players. And the coaches saw me there. I remember I dropped like 37 points as like a freshman, sophomore, on Division I players. Yeah. And Coach Finley saw me play down there. He heard about me. His assistant coaches heard about me. And I was a kid off the radar. I'm telling you, when we talk about blessings, I was a nobody. Nobody had heard about me. But again, those summer leagues and things like AAU give these kids a unique opportunity to play against collegiate athletes. And that was just like, that was my end. That literally was my end, to go down there and just hoop. And to me, I wasn't even thinking that anybody was watching. I was just like, I'm finna go work. I'm finna go work. That way I can come back and be better for my JUCO team. And at the time, Coach Finley, he called me up, talked to my coach, and was like, yo, like this kid can play here. I didn't know, I knew I wanted to go to Division I, but I didn't know I could play at a school like Iowa State.
Right.
And we both played Big 12, so we know the caliber of what the Big 12 does and the athletes that the Big 12 produces. And again, it was a blessing to be sought out by a school like Iowa State. Absolutely.
Right. But you know what? It's a blessing, but I'm also hearing that you were putting in the work though. At every turn
You
of the
had
corner.
to.
Yeah, because you had in your mind, like, this is my goal. I know I can play. You had the confidence. I know I can play at a higher division. I don't know what team, what type of style, but I know I can get there. But you were also like, I'm gonna put the work in, right? You went to you took your opportunity, went to a junior college. Great. Well, what school is that, by the way?
Kirkwood Community College. It's in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It is a hub for men and women's basketball. It is a sports school for sure.
Awesome. And just you put the work in, but you are also allowed yourself to be coached.
I did. That's the difference. A lot of these kids these days,
talk about it.
I want to be Kobe. I want to be so-and-so, and they just want to shoot the ball. I couldn't guard water in junior high, and high school, and college. I couldn't guard nobody. But again, what junior college did for me was develop me, and I learned principles of the game, and I was in a unique opportunity to ask for help. I knew I wanted to get better, but I needed to ask for help. And these kids these days are coming up and they just want to shoot the ball and they want to do all these different things that aren't necessarily developing them and making them a teammate, making them, these players that they need to be. The game is so much more than shooting the ball. And I think what junior college did for me is it developed my entire game.
Yep. Skill wise and IQ and understanding roles.
I learned IQ. That's it. I learned IQ in junior college. I had no clue how to read the game until I went to junior college. And you got to, when you go to a Division I school, that's all the game is.
It is. It is fast.
It's fast.
I mean, there's about, you're on offense and they swing the ball. There's about 3 options you got right here. If you miss one, you might miss them all.
Absolutely.
You might turn the ball over.
It's an entire different ball game.
Yeah. Talk to us about your experience at Iowa State. So you go there and you've got two more years left of eligibility, right?
Yes. So I go to Iowa State, and it's interesting because coach literally, he told me this, and I remember he had an interview about it too. Like, nobody expected me to come in and contribute the way I did. I believe one of our players got hurt, and that's it. When it's your time and they call your number, you better be ready.
You got to.
So they called my number, and I was ready. Like, they didn't think I would come in and impact the game the way I did. And I know there's kids on the bench right now. There's kids who are grinding but aren't on the court right now. My message to you is keep grinding, keep working, because when your number is called, you got to be ready to perform. And that was a unique opportunity that I got at that level, and I was ready.
Yeah,
I think I went in and started the rest of the games, in that season. And I was going into my senior year, ready to start again, ready to impact that game, because I had so many supporting characters around me. We were all supporting each other. That's the good thing about Iowa State was my junior year specifically, no one really averaged more than like 12 points a game. We were such a well-rounded team. That's what made us so good.
That's what made y'all tough. Yeah, I want you to keep talking about like what type of team you guys were. So if anybody out there doesn't know Iowa State, Iowa State basketball, I know we always hated playing you because we knew it was going to go down to the wire, and y'all were tough at every position. Y'all could bomb threes and you could get it to the hole. It was like you were also patient with offense.
Absolutely.
Like, we got to be on our P's and Q's on defense. We got to be ready. So,
and that's praise to the coaching staff and praise to the program in itself, because I like to talk about the fact that I was made. I didn't come into this being this dope player. I was made into this type of player, and that was film, that was sessions on the court, that was the coaching staff, that was Coach Finley drilling into our head what it took to be an elite player. And part of that was the film sessions, the court sessions, the getting to trusting your teammates, to learning what your role is. We all come in wanting to be the shooter, be the star. And I think we gelled the way we did on the court because everybody knew their role.
Mm-hmm.
If T scored 20 and I scored 20 points one night, cool. Allison Lacey scored another, that's cool. But every night, our opponents had to worry about someone else. And I think that's what made us a very unique team, a very hard team to beat. And of course, I want to give a shout out to the fans of Iowa State, because that's our sixth man. Like, it is very hard to play in Hilton Arena.
Yeah.
Like, anybody will tell you that it's super hard, but it's again, it's a testament to my teammates and the staff and the coaches who really just prepared us every night to be better at what we did, because we didn't have stars. Unlike the Texases and the Baylors, we didn't have All-Americans.
Yeah.
We didn't have a team full of All-Americans. So we had to come to the game very fundamental. We were a very, very fundamental team. We didn't go outside of what we were good at. We shot the three ball better than anybody else in the country because we were really good at it, and we practiced. Those girls spent countless amount of time outside of our 2-3 hour practices shooting the ball, watching offenses, learning their teammates, knowing where they needed to be on court. At one point, I remember coach put an X on the floor and was like, T, I don't want you to go here. I don't want you to go here. I want you to go here. Like, it was like drilling that in us all the time. It's what made us the type of athletes we were.
Exactly. Yes. And so for anybody that's watching, parents, high school players, middle school, what I'm hearing from your story and about your team as well is that, look, you don't have to be a McDonald's All-American. You don't have to be good, like a great star player from the jump. What you have to do is be vulnerable, accept your role, and understand how to push yourself and put the work in and ask for feedback, ask for help, and use all these opportunities and time you have to just work on your game and just continue to enjoy the game. And
absolutely,
and that's the main thing is too. What was hard to play with y'all is that y'all were competitive. Like, you work so hard. I don't know how to explain it. It's like
Coach Finley used to always say, "Play hard."
It's like a chip on the
because
shoulder.
we had to be. We had to, and because we knew, you know what? It's not that we knew everyone was better than us, because that wasn't the case. We had to know that we were just as good and that we were just as competitive. And one of the slogans at Iowa State is to play hard, play harder, play smarter, and that's what we did every night. We wanted to show up and play harder than Texas, play harder than Baylor, play harder than Oklahoma, play smarter than all of those teams. And we always had to play together.
Yep.
We weren't going to win any games if we didn't play together. And that's one thing that I want kids to really understand is, cool, you could be a specialist in this. You can do this, you can do this. But you have to realize this is a team sport. You're not going to affect this game the way you do if you don't find a balance between what you do great and what your teammates do great. You can't play 1-on-5. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
It's just not going to work. Your teammates are just an integral part of your experience as a player. And of course, you're going to shine in your way, but that's not what this sport is about. It's playing together. It's playing harder. It's playing smarter and making your mark in that way for the sport.
Right. So I don't know if you were still playing at this point, but I remember we had a game. It was at the Irwin Center. It was at our house against y'all, and we went to like 2 overtimes, and we lost the second, or we lost the third. I'm telling you that game, we were dog tired. I know. All I know is we were mad as heck because we went into like double overtime at least and lost.
I can't even remember, but whether I was in that game or not, there is a tenacity about the way we are taught to play at Iowa State, and that's Division I, but there is a specific way that I was taught and made to be the player I am, to not quit, to show up for my teammates in a way that when the buzzer goes off, you can say that you left everything on the court. And we were constantly reminded of that. At both teams, tired. Who's going to fight it out? And sometimes it's that one possession. Sometimes it's, and that's when we go back to teamwork. You got to do your part. You've got to know your role, because that one mistake, basketball is a game of mistakes. At the end of the day, it's the team who made the least amount of mistakes.
Right.
So it's like, you got to find a way to edge it out. And there's so many pieces to that.
Do you have a favorite game or most memorable game? Whether you played well or it was just like a great team win in college for Iowa State or Kirkwood?
Absolutely. I remember it like the back of my, I just remember it. I was being a typical young adult, and I had gotten in trouble, and Coach Finley suspended me.
Ooh.
And I got suspended, and it was a very hard lesson to learn. And it was one of those things that made me grow up and be a woman. And God bless Coach Finley. Because you got to say what you got to say in the media, but God bless him. And it was a teachable moment, we'll say that. And when you have something that you love so much taken away from you, you get it together. And I remember not being able to practice and not being able to step foot on campus. And I am sweet as pie, but I had stepped out of my character, and I got it was a teachable moment, let me tell you. Anyways, I digress. But it happened to be the game before our biggest rival. It was Iowa State.
Oh.
I didn't start. And I got the talk of my life, basically, of it was, again, a teachable moment. You have a unique opportunity to show up for your teammates and for yourself. I remember it like yesterday. The coaches strategically wrapped themselves around me so the cameras could not see that Coach Finley was about to get in me. And I can't remember his words verbatim, but it was along the lines of, it sparked something to me, like, you need to show up. You have people who are relying on you. Get it together. Best game of my career. It wasn't a best game of my career as far as points. It wasn't the best game of my career as far as like, but you know how rival games are. They mean so much to you. And I performed in a way that I would hope allowed my teammates and my coaching staff to trust me again and to know that I could show up for them. And I remember the Iowa coach at the end of the game basically saying, like, we tried to recruit this girl, and this is why we tried to recruit her. Like, I'd never seen a player, I think I had 7-8 offensive rebounds, who went after the game like that. But what people didn't know was I had got a fire lit underneath of me that made me perform that well to be, and that's why I talk about how we were made. Like, there was a trust that was put on me to be this elite player. And I got it from games like that, where I had to show up no matter what was going through me, whatever happened, I had to show up for my teammates.
Right. Talk about, before we get into the nitty gritty of the 12-year, 13, soon to be 13,
going into 13.
career. Okay. Talk about your tenacity on the boards and what's your mindset? Because a lot of players can look very different, can have create more opportunity for themselves to show up different by just being on the boards and being attentive. Like, what is your, you say 7 and 8 offensive rebounds? Like, probably had 20 because you get more on defense. So talk about that. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I first and foremost, I am an undersized post player. I've always playing in the Big 12.
There you go.
Barely 6 feet.
Undersized post.
You're not gonna play at that level if you can't rebound. So that was like my end into the Big 12. The fact that I could rebound. So that was my job. My job coming into it was to set screens and rebound. That's how I impacted the game. That's how I was able to play. And so I really had to do that really well, or I wasn't going to see the floor. And so that's why I repeat, like, I was a surprise to them because I did that very efficiently. And up until now, I've had 6 knee surgeries, and I've still been able to impact the game rebounding. Of course, as you get older, you have to be smarter when you do those things.
Yeah.
I've had to learn to use my body differently. I've had to learn to be smarter on the offensive and defensive end. And at the end of the day, it don't matter how tall you are. I remember we had our point guard. She was Danae Stuckey, typical point guard, maybe 5'6". She led the team in rebounds half the time because she just had this tenacity and this will to go after the rebound. It's effort. Rebounding is all effort at the end of the day. So I feel like that's what I brought to my team, was that effort to go to the glass and rebound the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I already know that small forward.
Look,
that's the only reason I was able to continue to start like I did, rebounding, setting screens, getting those tips, charges, doing the dirty work.
Yep.
And being a spark for your team.
Being that garbage player.
That garbage player, man. I'm telling you. And that sparks a team. That's contagious. That the rebounding, you get more possessions defensively. Yeah. You gotta have fire on defense. You're contagious to everybody else to get their act together on defense, right?
Right? Like everybody else wanted to shoot and score. I was like, yo, I want to set a screen and I want to rebound. Like that was my high. Like you couldn't tell me I couldn't set no good screen.
We're like, bring over here. Come on.
Yep, come on.
Okay. So we're in college. Are you thinking about pro? Have you had conversations yet? When does that idea of being a professional player come in? And were you thinking WNBA or overseas?
Absolutely. I was thinking about it from the beginning. I tore my knee my junior year. So I actually got a red shirt. And there were moments during that time I was like, I'm probably not going to play WNBA, or I'm probably not going to do that. But I worked my butt off to really try to get back to that point. And I didn't make the draft my senior year. I ended up barely playing my senior year, actually, because I had a scope again that senior year. And it was just, a little, I had this great junior season, and you come in, and myself and my center, we tore a knee that same year. So it was just a really, really tough year for us. I believe we still made it to the NCAA tournament regardless. But once we were all healthy, it was that third year that we ended up going to the Elite Eight. So that there was that place where I wasn't super impactful. I was still a part of this amazing team and able to contribute to the best of my ability, even though I had that scope. In my mind, I was still like, okay, I can still go overseas at that point. So what I got an agent, was talking to coaches, that they got me together to get to that place. And my job was, first year pro, was, because I didn't get drafted, was to ball out this first year pro so you can get on a training camp. I averaged 37 points my freshman season at a very competitive league, and I tore my knee my first year pro. Yeah.
You said how many? 27 or 37?
Oh, I said 37. Yeah, I said 37.
I said 37.
Yeah, I said 37, and I was so hyped.
Dang,
I was actually in Puerto Rico, so there's a few WNBA players down there. Back then when Puerto Rico was popping, it was so fun.
That's good competition. And 37,
it was good competition.
You put
it was numbers. Good. And I'm
sure
you
got about 15, 20 rebounds at the same
time. I was so blessed. Let me tell you.
Wow, crazy.
It was great. But that was the job. That was the agent says, you want to get to the camps. I need you to have a really good pro season. And tore my knee, devastated. And I had to reevaluate what I wanted my career to be.
Okay.
I didn't come back from that knee injury like I wanted to, but I was not going to let that physical aspect affect how I was going to use the game to excel. I knew instantly that I had to shift where I wanted to be. Of course, every player wants to go to the WNBA. Every player at that level wants to go to the WNBA, but I was realistic about my ability to play and the longevity of my career at that stage. So I shifted gears. I said, I'm going to grind, I'm going to work, and I'm going to really leverage playing overseas. And that's what I did. I've been to, oh my goodness, I can't even remember how many countries I've been to. Definitely plus 14, 15 countries playing in. And to be honest, like, again, the notoriety behind WNBA is great. I have so many amazing friends who would play WNBA, but I have lived my wildest dreams playing abroad. It has been amazing. And at the end of the day, they go overseas and play with us. So I'm playing alongside WNBA players anyway. So like it never affected anything for me because I'm like, I'm just as good as you. Like I'm right here playing with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I agree so much with that because for a long time, like, you know, WNBA is like, that's the standard. If you're watching as a kid, you're like, I'm gonna be there. That's me. I'm gonna play next to Lisa Leslie, right?
Okay.
But, that was my dream too. And I never got drafted. I was never able to go to a camp, but I had always had, I don't know, had this thing that it would bring me down because I didn't, you know, get to go to the WNBA. But once I started playing overseas, and I'm seeing, oh, they coming over here too and playing.
Yeah.
My freshman year, I was able to play in Portugal, and it was Tisha Penetrero's her last year that she played.
Oh, wow.
But I'm like, so I'm getting ready to play against Tisha. But it was like an honor, but it was like, let's go, right?
Yeah.
And throughout your career, you're playing against these WNBA players, which is awesome because you're like you said, we're playing in the same game, and it's not too different, right, of a level. But I let that go because, hey, I'm able to have you on my team. I'm also able to play against you. So that's really kind of what I wanted anyway.
Absolutely. And those players, to be completely honest, I think about players like I spent some good time in Israel and in France and playing against those top caliber players. Those players made me the player that I am today. Like to be able to compete against them and play against them and receive mentorship from them. That's a unique opportunity that isn't lost upon players like us who go overseas, whether we get to play against them in the league. We're playing alongside of them, and that's a privilege as well. And that's again a unique opportunity to continue to be the basketball player that we've always wanted to be as well. Because when we get overseas, y'all on the same playing level.
Yeah. You want to play against the best too. Like
you want to play against the best.
That's why we're here.
Absolutely.
So first year Puerto Rico. All right, girl, take us through all the countries that you've played in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if you can.
Where have I played? If I can. I played in, let's just group them. Like South America, I played in the South American countries. I'll group y'all together. Because it's been such a, I love South America, first of all. It's amazing. And I got to play in some really good tournaments, played for some really good countries. I played in Israel. I played in France the last 3 years. I played in Switzerland a few years, Romania. I played, where else have I played? I played for some cups. I played Euro Cup. Central Europe's been like kind of my hub, but really cool opportunities to play in places, you know, play for Euro Cup, which is like one of the higher tier tournaments, and playing in top leagues in France and Israel where, you know, there's 2 WNBA players per team typically. Right. Playing against those caliber players and those teams really affects your game and really elevates you. Absolutely.
Did you play anywhere in like the Scandinavian northern countries at all? Denmark, Finland?
I played in Finland. Yes, I did play in Finland.
What was your favorite place to play?
I didn't mention Australia. So I would say my 2 favorite places. Probably 5 years in a row up until this year, I've been playing my summers. That's why my season has been so long, because I play back-to-back seasons.
Gotcha.
So I play in Australia during the American summer, which is their winter after the European season. So what I love about Australia is they speak English. Let's just be real. It's so easy to assimilate into a place like that. And I love ball, and being able to play year round has been really cool, and learning how they play the game. Israel was really cool as well, because again, you're playing, there's a lot of Americans over there in Israel. And not only on and off the court, but those experiences were really unique to, they really affected my confidence. I'll say that, as far as like, because sometimes in the midst of injury, you start to doubt yourself. And being able to play around those caliber athletes and knowing and contributing and competing and being in changing the game in that aspect was really beneficial to knowing that I could continue to leverage my ability in this game has been really unique. So Israel and Australia have been the best.
Israel and Australia, awesome. So let's talk about a little bit of mental health and injuries. So you said you've had 6 different types of surgeries on one knee or both?
Both. So let's just say 3 and 3.
3 and 3. Okay, split it up. So talk to us about just how you felt, like just raw, how you felt at sometimes, the emotions that went through your head, the thoughts, and how did you change those to get through and do your rehab and get back on the court and continue, your passion?
Yeah. Every injury is different. Every knee injury is different. Any player who has had a knee injury, they know that it's like one of the hardest injuries you have to come back from.
Yeah.
You have to learn to reuse your legs again. The most integral part of our experience is using our bodies to play the sport, and to get it back to that high caliber feeling, it's hard. It is so hard. And to do that 6 times has been interesting. I remember the first time it happened, I was in a foreign country and I had surgery there and I didn't have any support. And I remember meeting a group of people there who basically like loved on me so much while my team was playing and traveling. I developed a family over there and they really like took care of me. Because sometimes these teams don't. They pay for your surgery and they be like, okay, bye. So it's hard.
Where was that?
That was in Puerto Rico. That first surgery, and I was a rookie. So I was just like, is this supposed to happen? Is this normal? Like, it was a whole situation. So I was just like, okay, it made me want to put the sport down. Like, I was just like, I'm cool. This is what it's gonna be like. I'm cool. Because I didn't bounce back like I thought I was supposed to. It took a while for me to bounce back and feel myself. But and I had a few more surgeries and I had to really develop, each time was hard. It was very, very hard mentally and emotionally. But what I learned through each injury was that you should not do it alone. And I know sometimes with injuries, you want to just curl up in a ball and you just want to go in your own little space. But it's an injury that you don't want to do alone. It's an injury that you need positivity. It's an injury that you need support to help push you through the days where you don't want to do rehab, because rehab can be anywhere from 3 to 10 to 12 months. It depends on how hard how bad the tear is. And doing the same thing over and over and over, you just start to see a spinning wheel. It's just like, do I want to keep doing this? It's hard. So I definitely am super grateful for the people in my life who it took a while. It took a while for me to be like, okay, I do need help. I do need positivity. But I think after like the 3rd or 4th one, I was like, I need an accountability partner. Keep me positive because this sucks.
It does. It does. I've been through probably 4 or 5 surgeries as well. ACLs on both, 1 twice, scopes, so that is tough, and hats off to you on your 13.
I appreciate it. I've had coaches, I've had everybody say, you should be done playing by now. And I'm just like, I'm going to be done when I want to be done. I recognize that ball ain't life. I hope kids, is you listening? Ball ain't life. Just know that ball ain't life. I've always known ball is not life, but there is a certain thing that sports does. You can use the sport or the sport can use you. I have learned that I will be using the sport until the wheels fall off. That doesn't mean I'm going to be playing for the rest of my life, because that's impossible. Our bodies can't do it. But I will be leveraging this game because it has taken so much from me. But now I get to use the sport to help the next generation of athletes, because it really has been so beneficial to me. So I'm finding ways to really leverage this game and use it. In the meantime, I'm gonna play the sport as long as I feel like I want to play it. People always like, oh, but you're this age and you do this. I led the league in scoring. Like, I'm confused. Like, you want me to stop at my peak? Like, I'm confused what you want me to do. So until this body says stop, and sometimes injuries, that's what happens, but I'm going to stop when I want to, because when you're 40 and 50 years old, you can't play no more. So like, I'm playing this game as long as I feel like I want to.
Absolutely. So we talked about everywhere you've played overseas. Is there any situations that was what's the hardest situation? So outside of like injuries that we just talked about, because that's pretty hard. Any other situations that you were in that were just hard, maybe weird, maybe you were caught off guard, maybe it was coaching, like situation where you were like not feeling it with your coach, or anything. It could be.
There's been so many unique situations. I don't even know, because these coaches, they be trying, girl. They be trying you. And I can speak candidly about this because, again, this is my career, and it's not to put, shade on anybody or any experience, any country, but it's my experience. And I just, I think more players need to hear about how real these situations are, and everybody thinks you're a pro athlete, so you're making lots of money, you're doing all these cool things, and I'm just like, it's not always like that, but it is fun. It's really cool. But it's not always like that. I think not really a situation. I think in general, what people don't realize is how much we sacrifice. And they see like, oh my God, but you're a pro athlete and you're making money and you're like living abroad, but we're also abroad for 10 months, 8 to 10 months out of the year. And I have missed every wedding, every family reunion, every thing that has to be that's social. And that wears on you. That really does wear on you. And you miss your friends and you miss your family. I've literally missed my nieces growing up. And it's a sacrifice that a lot of us make all the time. And I wish we could not do it, but it's also like you're living your dream. And so I definitely encourage athletes to find a balance between being a regular person and being this amazing caliber athlete that that you are. It's just it's hard.
It is. It's very tough.
Yeah,
very tough. Can you talk to us about some other things that you're doing? Because I know you do a lot of activism and mentorship in some different groups. You're not just a basketball player, very great basketball player, but that's not all you are. That's not all we are. So what other things are you into right now you're doing?
I have been working in the publishing industry for a while, and I've gained so much knowledge around storytelling and how to share that with the world. And one thing that I'm curating and offering to help untapped communities, underrepresented communities on sharing their stories in the written platform and being able to monetize that story on places like Amazon and Kindle. And we have especially as athletes, we have such amazing stories, and being able to share that with the world is an amazing thing. And there's so many different communities that have really poured into me, specifically the LGBTQ plus community. As a survivor of sexual assault, I want to pour into those communities and allow them a space where they can show up authentically and write their stories and share their stories with the world. So I am curating that offering in the upcoming year. Just to be able to share their side of things and to be able to own our narrative and speak our truth. So I'm really excited about that.
That's cool. So did you, what was your major and minor in school, in college? We didn't talk about that.
That third year gives you a little opportunity to get a lot of things done in college. So I have a degree in communications. I have a degree in speech, 2 different ones. I have a degree in gender and queer studies. That's a 3rd one. And I have my master's in cultural foundations of education. So this girl's an academic.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And so do you feel like those, which one of those, if any, really helped you with the publishing that you're getting ready to do, and that you've been kind of not researching, but studying and doing some work with?
I think all of them. Have. I'm really grateful that I can articulate myself the way I can. And part of my undergrad degree was in communications and training and development and speech. I'm a writer at heart, and being able to show up. One of my languages and how I want to share how I feel and how I show up in the world is definitely through writing. That's how I choose to exist as a Black woman in this world, is through my words. And I want to be able to share that with other people. And publishing I never thought I would be in this industry. ever, but I had a unique opportunity to receive some mentor from another Black woman, and it just kind of spiraled into working with a wonderful organization, also birthing my own brand and being able to do that. It's been really cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what would you say for, let's talk to any professional athlete, basketball, volleyball girls, whether they're in rookie season or they're trying to finish their last season. What type of advice would you give them to get ready for retirement? You're not retired right now, right? But
not retired. Nope.
How are you thinking about preparing yourself? Like you just said, publishing, but is there anything else that you would have done, younger? You wish you would have done younger to continue to.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I think the first 5 years of my career, I was like, woo, I'm a professional athlete. I ain't got to do nothing. I can just chill, make some bread, and kick it. Yeah, no. So we have a lot of time on our hands, more than what we think when we're overseas.
Yeah, we do.
And I'm not saying everybody needs to have a brand, but you do need to leverage the time that you have when you're not on the court. You need to be traveling, you need to be reading, you need to be writing, you need to be meeting new people, because those type of experience will open you up in a way that's going to help you learn about yourself. And part of learning what your purpose is and how you want to serve in the world is being able to pull back those layers of who you are. You will never be able to learn and figure out what your purpose is and how you want to serve if you don't know about yourself. So you have to put yourself in these unique situations and opportunities to do that. And I can guarantee you that's coming from traveling, that's coming from reading, that's coming from writing, that's coming from connecting with your family and doing and going outside of the norm of what you're used to, making yourself uncomfortable, doing the unconventional things. So athletes, whether you're a rookie or whether you're about to transition and you have no clue what you're going to do, you really have to put yourself in these unique situations that are very unconventional to pull back the layers of who you are. Because if you do not, you're going to spend the next 10 plus years trying to figure it out. And as athletes, we don't know when our career is going to end. So while we have this unique opportunity and time to kind of explore things, you should be doing something in that realm to stretch who you are as an athlete, because when it's done, it's done. And we don't always have, like, I'm just now trying to figure out as I transition, I'm lucky that I have a little bit more time in my hands to figure out what that looks like, figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But use your time wisely at the beginning of your career as you can. There's no place, no time like now. Because that's all we have. If anything, we've learned with COVID, we realized that time is not guaranteed. We got a reminder about what this looks like and how time doesn't really exist in that sense. That concept of, time is man-made, we have now. So I definitely encourage athletes to dive into who they are a little bit more to figure out what your purpose is. And another thing, ask for help. You don't have to do this by yourself. That's one thing I wish I would have known earlier. I didn't ask for help at the beginning of my career. I'm asking for help now, and I'm developing a team who is really like pouring into me and getting me to figure out what I want to do in the world and how I want to serve.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's I agree so much with that. Asking for help. I wish I would have done a lot of that earlier, even in college with my skill development and things like that. But more so reaching out to, when I was a 3, 4, 5 year, not rookie, but veteran, reaching out to some people back at my Texas, my college, and figuring out, hey, what'd you do? How'd you figure out what you wanted to do after you played college or professional basketball? And one thing I wish I would have done, and what I would tell athletes is, like, when you come home for the summer and you're here for 3, 4 months, go spend some time and volunteer or find an internship. You don't have to spend all your time there, because I know you want to chill, right? But go to these different companies and see what running a business is about. See what being a lawyer, how they run their firm, an architecture firm, a gym. Do you want to open up a gym? Maybe go see what that stuff is about. You're not, and you'll figure out yourself. You'll say, hey, I really like that experience. I like how that looks, or I know I don't like whatever it might be, but then you're also building a network, right? You know people, you're having connections.
I never realized how important that was. Networking.
Me neither.
I had no mind blowing.
Me neither. Not even in college, like hanging around with people from the business school or law school or programmers, like hanging out with different people, not just your basketball buddies or your athletes. So, you know, but then you have your network of people that you know, and they know, right? So when it's time to retire and you maybe don't know, you know, what you want to get into, you do have people to reach out and say, hey, I know these are the things I like. Do you know anybody that's hiring? And blah, blah, blah,
right.
you know, and make that situation or make that transition a lot more easier for yourself.
No, absolutely.
Yes. So, man, I love this. I can't wait to have you back on Triple Double Life to talk about.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to.
Publishing whenever you're ready. And let's get that out, because I know that's going to be great, and I'm gonna need your help. You can write my books and my stuff, because I cannot.
I'm happy to support you any way I can.
I don't like writing. I'll fall asleep. I'll tell you what to write. But any closing remarks? Any advice that you want to say to the young girls, the high school girls that, you know, they're playing basketball, they do want a scholarship. You know, how do they get it? How do they start focusing and having the confidence to say, I can do it. I can get one.
Wow. So many ways, so many tips I could give you. But at the end of the day, I want to say the most important thing is, like, it's up to you. Yeah. How hard you want to work, how much you want to leverage the game, and what your legacy is going to be. You can't leave it up to coach so-and-so. You can't leave it up to mom and dad. It's up to you. Mm-hmm. You gotta want to do the work. You got to want to ask for help, and you got to want to let people help you. That's the biggest thing. And there's no excuses. There's no excuse for you to not to be the athlete that you want to be. And you got to find goals for yourself. You got to set aside the goals and the time and really dig into your craft. That's the only way you're going to be this elite athlete. Everybody wonder how these elite athletes can do the things that we do. It has been very, very strategic. Yeah. We've implemented a lot of time and effort into what we do, and we haven't done it alone. So build your support system and really go into learning this craft and just doing it for you, because can't nobody else help you. It's gonna be, unless you want them to. Yeah.
Any advice for you know, those girls, bright-eyed and bushy-tails, that are getting ready to go overseas? They got their second year under their belt. What would you say to them? What would you say?
It'll never be like college. It will never, ever be like college ever again. So everything you learned in college, erase that. Everything you learned in college, put it in a bag and bring it with you, because that's what's going to help you stay professional. That's what's going to help you stay and continue to be the elite athlete you are, because it is different over there. It is different. So come with the same mindset and the work ethic that you had at the collegiate level, and continue that in your professional career, because everyone around you might not have that, but as long as you come into this professional world with that foundation, you're gonna be okay.
Boom. You guys have heard it. Man, thank you so much, Toccara, for joining us on the show. That's gonna wrap us up, everybody. So coach, I call you coach. Toccara, stay on. Everybody else, we will see you when we see you. Peace.